Hello, and welcome to Ahead of the Curve. I am Laura, and I am here with my friend
I'm Michael, for those
Michael.
that don't know.
And we have started our little YouTube where we are beginners helping beginners understand trading card games. So we have a couple other videos that kind of explain our history. So if you want to know about that and what kind of got us into games, you can jump to our YouTube and watch those. But today I'm kind of excited. I wanted to talk about net decking. And as a beginner, this was like a really hard thing for me to understand and to not feel really guilty about. So I kind of wanted to talk about that and like the pros and cons and the benefits of net decking. For those of you that don't know what net decking is, that's literally just taking a deck and copying it off the internet and playing it. I did not understand that, and I remember the first time my husband explained what net decking was, I was like, I feel really dumb for not having pieced that together. But a lot of people don't know what it is, so there it is. But when I first started, my husband has been playing TCGs for years, and so when we finally got all of our Star Wars cards, he would like pick a leader and go, "This is a really cool leader. I'm gonna build a deck around it." Or "This is a really cool card. I'm gonna build a deck around it." And I tried really hard to do the same thing and just fell flat over and over and over. And he was the one that was like, "Hey, net deck, like go to SwooDB and like find a deck and build it." And I was like, "But I feel like that's cheating, and I feel like I should be better than that." And you should not have to feel that way. Net decking is totally valid. There is nothing wrong with it, and I am really glad that I finally listened to him and took the dive and decided to do it, because it helped. I don't know, Mike, if you've had much experience with that.
Yeah. So, as someone who's played competitive miniature games for the better part of 10 years now, I'm more used to net listing, which is essentially the same as net decking. It's just going online, finding a list that did well at an event or deck in this case, and playing that list to a T. Uh, and I will say, I'll be the first one to say it. I don't personally think there's anything wrong with it. There's a lot of people out there that are way smarter than I am that have put the time in to put a stack of 50 cards together that work way better than I could ever think they would work together. Very specifically, a deck that we talked about in our last video. Quinlan is one of the most interesting leaders, I think, in this game. He presents some really cool interactions. And there's just cards I never thought about playing in that deck. And people are like, oh no, you got to play that card. And I was like, man, like I tried the deck and it works. And I'm like, man, I never would have thought to play this. So it's introduced me to some new cards. I will say I was along the lines with you. When I first got into Star Wars, I was getting in with my buddy Landon, and we would not we, I guess I would send him a deck and he's like, why don't you play this card instead? And I always kind of thought like, why would I play that card? Like the list has this card, so clearly this guy knows better than I do, right? Um, so I guess in a long convoluted way, there's nothing really wrong with net decking, but there is a lot to be said, I think that we'll dive into in this video about like I still have adjusted a bunch of Quinlan decks to fit more what I think I would rather play, what I find
Absolutely.
typically more fun or more situational, because every meta is going to be different. What we play here in the Midwest could be completely different than what's being played on the West or East Coast or in Europe, for instance. Europe typically is more of a control meta, where here in America it tends to be more of an aggro mid-range meta, it seems like.
Yeah, I would agree with
So
that.
I would say net deck to learn the game, learn the deck, learn a leader, but very much tuned decks. And I think we're going to talk about that in,
Yeah.
I think, with Laura's list.
Yeah, so I've got my list. Anakin, I'm gonna see if I can. There it is. Anakin is a leader that I played pretty much from the time he came out, all the way through Galactics. And it was really interesting to watch Anakin, even just a leader in himself, be played so many different ways. And there's a couple of things. I think I was gonna look at my list here. I think these are a little bit different. Well, okay, these are different. I should remember this because I took Force Base to Galactics. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But I started with Colossus, and I net decked this one. I think I maybe made a couple of changes, but this was the first iteration that I really didn't change much. And I remember thinking with this one specifically, the first thing I wanted to take out was R2D2 and C3PO because I was like, they feel clunky, they feel awful, I don't like these cards. And I took them out and quickly realized with Colossus, it's the 35 health base. When you start, you draw one less card in your starting hand. And so starting with 5 cards instead of 6 actually was a bigger handicap than I gave it credit for. And when I took R2 and C3 out, I was like, these look clunky, they feel wasteful. I never get cards from them. Took them out and then was like, oh, they actually are really good. I just haven't played them enough to figure it out. So I put them back in, and this was one where I just ran this list over and over and over and over to try to learn, and then pretty quick was very consistent with getting cards from them. Um, and so that's just one way that, like, when you build a deck, it's like playing it a couple of times. For me, it's like, okay, what feels good? What am I constantly resourcing and giving yourself the chance to kind of learn the deck before you make too many changes, but then not being afraid to actually make a change. And I still remember my husband was like, wow, you're so dumb for taking those cards out. Like, R2 and C3 are so good with Colossus. Like, you need that card draw. And I was like, no, 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 no. And then rapidly ate my words. And I
Yeah,
love them. They
I
were
think we had
great in
that.
this.
I think we had that conversation a few times at our locals on Sundays when you were like, "Hey, I'm just playing Anakin Colossus," and you never played the cards, and I'd be like, "You're missing like four vital cards or six vital
Yes.
cards." I feel like.
Yep. So,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
the R2 and C3PO are just for the card draw, but I totally get what you're saying about like you played the deck and you're like, this feels clunky or sometimes weird, and playing R2 turn one and Anakin, not getting full resources sometimes can feel bad because you're obviously not hitting curve, but
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah. So this was a fun iteration. I think out of all of the Anakin decks I played, I think Colossus was actually my favorite. And part of that was because this one I did play upgrades. So I have Jedi Lightsaber in there. And there is something about Anakin when there's 30 damage on your base. If you wait to flip him and you get that Jedi Saber on him, how hard he would hit was so satisfying. So I think Colossus was one of my favorite builds. But I felt like when it was specifically when Quinlan got really popular, that hand hate was really hard to contend with, which is
Yeah.
when I switched over to the 30 health base. And you can kind of see in this one, there's cards like the C3 and the R2 that are gone, the Red Squadron Y Wing that's gone, some of those that were like guaranteed card draws. And I think this one, yeah, with this one, tech is even in the sideboard. So I made some of those changes because I didn't need that card draw. So I was able to give myself some other units and events that created a little more consistency. But I still really missed that extra hit of damage from what
Yeah, I was about
Colossus
to
offered
say,
Anakin.
on initial view here, it looks like you really changed the deck to be more consistently three ofs and
Yes.
more situational ones and twos, but a lot more consistent overall.
Yeah. And it felt a lot more consistent in ways that it was like I was able to get like two things out at a turn, so I felt like I could flood the board a little bit more. One of the things that I really noticed with Anakin between when he came out and then when the Force Base came out with set 5 is I always played Anakin a little bit more on the control side. I always preferred to play him a little bit more of like a soft control. And I think that was one thing. I'm even going to bounce back. Yeah, so a lot of the cards I have in control wise are the same. I just lost a couple of those units. And then I dropped my upgrades. And played this a little bit more like I want to use my units to control the board, which was a really interesting way. It kind of is like a mid-range soft control that I felt like I had a pretty good handle on, but it felt way more consistent, especially with having 6 cards in my starting hand. And so this was just a really fun one to kind of play around with. I kind of lost my train of thought there, but yeah, as you can see, most of it is pretty similar. It's just a lot more 3-drop heavy. Get a little more
Yeah.
consistency out there.
So I guess what I would do here too is like I've played Anakin Blue a few times. I will disclaimer this. I probably don't have a very good win rate with the deck, but I've played it a lot here locally with Laura. We had another couple locals playing the deck with Will and Landon.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen a lot of this deck, and exactly what she's talking about is like so Colossus was super popular, but we also had a Quinlan problem there for a while where you weren't allowed to have cards in your hand, and that makes opening with 5 and not seeing R2 and C3PO very hurtful. So
Yes.
I like how you took the mindset here, like because like we said, like net decking's fine, but she figured out that like, hey, I like the consistency, and this looks like a set 5 deck too. So like upgrades
Yes, it
immediately went
is.
because Boba 4, right?
Yep.
Immediately punts that release. There's just a bunch of upgrade hate running around in the meta right now.
Yep.
And then just making the deck more consistent to feel better overall as a gameplay deck because Anakin is in that weird situation where, not weird, I guess would good would be better for it.
Yeah.
That good situation where he can just use units as removal spells. And like
Yes.
Jedi Starfighter, that 2 of is like one of the best cards I think I've seen in a long time. It's
Yes. Yep.
really good in Anakin.
Yep.
So
Well, and that's another thing. Like when I was building the deck, a lot of what I was putting in and taking out, I was trying to consider like Addy and the Jedi Starfighter and Yaddle and Yoda. They all have 4 health. And so I was able to buff them with Anakin's ability and they were able to survive, especially like Secretive Sage with the shield. It was like, okay, how do I get something out on board, have some control with my, like, do some controlling with my units and make sure that they survive? And that was one thing with the set 5 cards with like Addy and Yaddle specifically. They offer you a lot of benefit that I kind of, and I'm going to look back. Yep, so set 5 was when I changed away from Colossus because it looks like Addy and Yaddle are neither one in this, and being able to find more units with set 5 that had that 4 health was game changer.
no, I agree. I think we probably had this conversation 1,000 times at this point because I play a lot of blue myself. But the one thing like everyone always complains about is like, what's the best thing you can do to Anakin? Open Secret Sage,
Yes,
honestly.
oh, a thousand
Um,
percent.
so she's talking like with the 4 health units. Those are some break points you can consider in the deck because I mean, well, you have to have a 5 health, which would be what Gunji's the only thing that can survive Anakin turn 1.
Yeah.
So, and that's only in a green deck. And the decks that play Gunji are also playing General's Blade. So if they have Gunji General's Blade, there's not a lot Anakin can do about it anyways, besides
Nope.
the signaling thing.
Yep.
Um, or Village Protectors, I guess, in your deck. But it's just like so. I'll say that I'll be the first person to say this. When Set 5 was released, I think pretty much everyone in here in Omaha agreed that Set 5 Annie Force Space, OG Annie, not Set 5 Annie, was like one of the best decks because he's naturally red. You get the blue control aspect, and you get Caddy Mundi.
Yep.
Caddy Mundi is so good. I think I think we've had this conversation too 1,000 times. Is I've told Laura multiple times you should play the Force Base for Caddy Mundi, and I think you
Yes.
tried it a bunch, and I mean it can feel clunky because a
Yeah.
lot of people immediately realize like, oh, I'll just go first, keep you off force, and it won't matter. And that's where like so Laura here made the change. She's like, I'm gonna just play a standard 30 health base and not worry about force and just have a standard game really at that
Yeah.
point. So
And when I kind of bounced between when the Force Base came out, I kind of bounced between the two, and I felt like kind of like you were saying, like it became so initiative based, and it was like if I had initiative, I was going to win, and if I didn't start with initiative, I was guaranteed to die. And so I didn't really like that, which is why I liked kind of bouncing back to the 30 HP. It just felt more consistent. And one of the things that I wanted to touch on, I know our last video we talked a lot about archetypes. And for me, understanding archetypes and playing a little bit of each control, mid range, aggro, and kind of learning what I enjoyed and what I was good at was really big for me because when Force Space came out and I had a ton of people telling me Force Space is best, Force Space is best, one of our locals, Will, was playing Force Space, and I just copied his deck and was like, he seems to be doing great with this. Why am I suffering? And it took me pretty much up to Galactics before I realized I was playing a mid range deck and trying to play it soft control and was like, oh, pff, well, that explains a lot. And so for me, I think the Colossus and the 30 HP really were my favorite ways to play. But then I've got my Force Space here deck. This was the build I took to Galactics. And while it's a really strong deck, and I did better than I thought I would. I did terrible, but I did better than I thought I would. It it was just kind of learning that like I think mid range is just an archetype that my brain doesn't function that way. And I think that's one thing when you're net decking to kind of understanding the archetypes can make a big difference because for me it was frustrating to like find a deck and go, oh, these people know what they're doing, they've built this deck, I'm going to play it, and then get into it and go, why can I not make this work? And so I think understanding the archetypes and what you enjoy is a really big thing, because if you enjoy it, you're going to be better at it. Um, and so this force deck, this deck has done great, and I've seen other people play similar decks and do really, really well with it. But for me, it just wasn't it for me. Um, and one of the things that I wanted to touch on too in this video, talking about taking that net deck and making it a deck of your own. So you can see in this one that I took to Galactics, I have Perilous Position in the side. And it was Thursday night. It was like 7 p.m. We had till 7:30 to get our lists in, our deck list in for the tournament on Friday when we were in Vegas. And we're sitting at dinner, and I was like, I don't know, everyone is telling me to do Entrenched, but I feel like I'm better with Perilous Position, and I don't know what to do because I feel like they both offer me good things. But and I kind of went back and forth, and I think the best advice I was given, it was by Steven. He was like, what do you feel more comfortable with? Like, point blank, it doesn't matter what everyone else says. It doesn't matter what technically is a better play or a not better play. It's like, what are you the most comfortable with, and what do you feel like you will confidently play? And that's why I
No,
ended up using Perilous Position, because with Entrenched, I never knew what to put it on, and I always found myself resourcing it. And I think that's with net decking. It's like, if there's a card in here that you're consistently resourcing, or you're not understanding how to play, or you just don't like playing it, take it out. Like, don't feel like you can't make a single card change or a couple card change, and really like play the deck and figure out what works best for you.
oh no, absolutely. And I'll tell the same story essentially Laura just told. It was about, oh, actually, it was literally that Sunday before Galactics where we had a local tournament, a little 3-round tournament. Laura and I actually played at that tournament. I think Laura was on Anakin Force Base, if I remember
Yep.
correctly. I at the time was playing Yoda Red, and I thought the deck felt fine. It had some clunky draws. It was okay. It was a really fun deck. I thought it could be a really fun deck. It could also feel like the worst deck in meta, I guess you could say. Um, and I was really more comfortable playing a deck like Quinlan, but ever since Quinlan released, and then people kind of figured out how to play around it, and Data Vault became more popular. I wasn't really high on Quinlan going into Galactics week or even the week before. But one other guy that I know very well, Derek from Central Spacers, he was on a God, I can't think of that, a Mother Talzin deck, which felt very much like like Quinlan. So he gave me. So I'll just tell you straight up, he gave me his deck list, and I played probably about 10 to 15 games that night with him, talking with him through it, and it felt very. There was a couple of cards that felt super clunky to me, so I just swapped him out, made him like more consistency with a couple of cards that I preferred to play. And I mean, I did okay. I was like 5, and I was 1 win away in Galactics, whatever that was.
So you would have been, that would have been 5-3 then.
5 and 3, yeah. And I will say, ultimately, and I'll reiterate this forever. I think I said in the last video. Play what you find fun, because I was not
Absolutely.
having fun with Yoda that Sunday, and so I swapped to it. I made a really bad decision ultimately. I would never recommend swapping a deck 4 days before a major event like that you're spending possibly thousands of dollars to attend.
Yes.
But I I will say ultimately play what you find fun, because if I was going to an 8, 9, 10 round event, I'd rather play a deck that I enjoy playing than be like, holy crap, this deck is like on a razor's edge and I just drew like crap and lost a game, or
Yeah.
that game was super unfun because I just don't enjoy this deck. So,
Yeah.
and that's exactly going on with theme here of this videos. I took a deck that was technically net decked because I got it from a friend, and him and his buddies were all on it. And I think two of them actually made day 2 on the deck, one or two of them. And I changed it to what I preferred, and it worked out really well for me. And ultimately, I think it bit me in the ass in a few games, but it was also really, really consistent to what I liked it to be. So,
Yep. Well, and that's kind of like, I kick myself every couple of days when I think about it. I kick myself for having ran Force Base in Galactics, and I think I got a little convinced because everyone was saying, well, it's stronger than the 30 health or Colossus. It's more consistent. It's stronger. You have a better win rate, and it seems to be winning a lot more things than the 30 health. But it's kind of goes down to what Mike was just saying, where it's like, but I didn't have as much fun with it, and I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I just didn't feel as comfortable with it. And so that's something that's like really big, is like, if you're not having fun, make a change. If you're playing a card that isn't fun, make a change. Don't be afraid to like run some games and make sure that that's how you feel. But if you're not having fun with it, if it's not working, just because it's the meta or it's the right card and all the winners are playing this card does not mean that they're winning because of the card. A lot of times I feel like when people are winning events, it's the comfort level with their deck, how prepared they are, if they know the game plays well, and if they've run it enough times to kind of like know lines of play based on opponents. So I feel like that's a big one where it's like, oh yeah, that's just because that card is in all these meta decks doesn't mean I personally know how to play it the way it's supposed to be played.
So yeah, and like I'll reiterate that too. Is like Caddy Mundi, super popular, super good card. People were playing it sideboard. I think a 2 or 3 of capacity in Talzin. I didn't. I never even thought about it. I thought it felt clunky. I never wanted to pay 6 for it, and that's exactly what I did. I just took it out. I was like, I think this feels super clunky. It's really good. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not for me.
Yeah.
So I would
Yep.
say the way you're going to lose games a lot in this game is sideboard. Sideboard is really important. It can really shore up your weaknesses. I know it's only 10 cards, but it can shore up your weaknesses if your core cards are still super popular, not popular, but strong.
Yep.
Um, so like Laura talking about the entrenched versus perilous. I would prefer perilous. I think there's a couple things in the meta at the time that we were in Galactics, like Vader 4 from Jump to Lightspeed. He had obviously the ability to just put Lurking Tie Phantom out against most control decks and just tell them, like, because they had to play perilous at that point, and playing
Yep.
perilous on it was super good. But it's like I think entrenched versus the perilous debate is one of those things you could go on for hours about because it's just
Yeah.
super.
And everyone's
So
gonna have a different opinion because that's the entrenched versus perilous was specifically the conversation was specifically around. I had a feeling I was going to run into at least one Vader for Pilot Vader. And the one time that I had practiced with entrenched, because I had sideboarded in all these space units and taken out a couple of my ground units to try to fight on the space side, it kind of put me in a bad position because I was like, oh, well, I just entrenched your space unit, so now I can't really play space. So now I have to move to the ground, and so it just felt. So I think that is definitely one of those debates that there's not a right or a wrong, and it is simply comes down to what do you feel the most
comfort
confident
level.
doing. Yes. Yep. Which is huge in my opinion.
And I'd rather, like I said, one, play a deck that I find fun, and two, play a deck that I'm comfortable with. Because like we have a event coming up on Saturday, and unfortunately, due to my work schedule, I have not got a lot of time to play.
Yep.
So I'm going to probably default back onto a deck I know very well, or I've played a lot of reps with, over a deck that might be up and coming.
That's what
Or
I'm doing.
so
Yep. Kind of falling back on a tried and true, and just kind of like what's my comfort level. Where like I was thinking about, I had an aggro deck that I had built, and I'm just haven't, like, kind of like you're saying, I just haven't put the time into it. So it's like, okay, what do I know best? What am I gonna have fun
no,
playing? Am I
absolutely.
gonna have fun playing a deck I don't know very well? Probably not. So that's what we're gonna do. But
Especially looking at like player attendance. Am I gonna have a fun playing a deck I don't know very well for 6, 7, 8 rounds, possibly a Swiss? And if I somehow do well, top deck the hell out of the cards I need and get to where I'm going. Uh, if I make top 8, am I gonna have fun in top 8? When these guys like, because when you're talking about reaching any sort of cut in any event, you're probably gonna be playing players who have a lot more reps on the deck or are just very good players, and
absolutely.
they're gonna know their deck, and they can make your deck feel very bad. And so
Yep.
having a comfort level with that deck is going to go a lot further than just having a good deck.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you have the most reps in with for sure?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
so like I said, I'll reiterate, I do not think net decking is bad,
no.
especially if you're a newer player, and that's what this series is designed around and to help you guys is ultimately you need to get games with your deck. And I would say if you pick up a deck and you're playing like 10, 15, and you're like, man, I always resource this card, or I always put this card on the table and it makes me lose a game, or I play it incorrectly and I get punished for it. Definitely, and you think like there's something else or someone's recommending something else, try it.
Yep.
Try it. It could be exactly what you're looking for.
Yep. That's, yeah, don't be afraid to try it. Don't be afraid to make changes. And honestly, if there's a card you're constantly kind of like you were just saying, Mike, like you're either resourcing it or when you play it, it comes back to bite you. Like listen to those things and listen to your gut when you're like, hey, I just don't think this card is working for me. Everyone else might say it's good, but for me, it's just not. hitting, then listen to that and don't be afraid to make a change. I think that's like one of my biggest things that I had to learn was like, okay, everyone has an opinion, but not everyone's brain is working the way my brain is working.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah. I bring up Landon a lot because Landon and I bounce ideas off each other all the time. His brain is wired completely different for
Yep.
card games than it is mine. Um, he's a lot better player than I am for one, but he thinks very differently than I do, and even when it comes to miniature games. And I was probably considered better than him at the time, and we
Yep.
would talk about lists. And so just play what you think you're gonna have the best time with. You
Yes.
know,
I would 100% agree with that. Yeah.
I I, I think a card that I probably wouldn't take to competitive event, but I find very fun is you have a two of in this deck because it works. The force is with me. I I think that card is super fun. Do
I
I think
love
it's
that
top tier?
card.
Probably not. Probably not right now because there's just a bunch of good removal flying around. But the
Yep.
forces with me is probably one of my favorite cards in this game, and I enjoy it really well. I know how to play it well. So
Yep. Yeah, that was one upgrade that when I went to this deck, everyone was telling me to take that out because they were like, upgrades, there's so much upgrade hate. And I was like, yes, but the action cheating with this, if I can drop this on Anakin, it's gross and I love it. Like, don't, this is the one, it's probably not meta right now, like you're saying, but it's so fun. It's so fun.
it's also just like a math card. Like if you flip Anakin and they're like, "Well, I'll just put 2 damage into him, and then I'll take down him," and you're like, "Forces with me," and now
Yep.
he's going. He's still got 7 health left, and it's a fun little math card. I find it very
Yeah,
fun.
it
I
is.
do not find it.
Especially like,
Upgrade hate makes it kind of weird. I agree, but it is
yes,
just a very fun card.
I love it on Quinlan though too because it's 2 experience tokens, which makes Quinlan hit for 6, and
Six
he does
power,
that
and then he
extra
gets to deal
damage.
the.
So dropping that on Quinlan, or even on Churret and getting the shield from it, making Churret that much harder to get through, so good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
It's a fun
like
one.
there's this is where the comfort level of decks comes with because I wouldn't even think about the Quinlan play. I haven't really thought about Quinlan as a card much,
Yeah,
unfortunately. I've been mostly playing the 5 drop Asajj because of Talzin,
yeah,
but like I never even thought about that or getting a shield on Chirrut. Chirrut can feel. Chirrut was I think I brought this up on Talking Town. Chirrut was a breaking point for the Yoda deck when we were testing, and it made us put takedown back in because we had like no good outs to a 3/5
yep,
that could reduce our damage by 2.
yep,
So like there's just a bunch of fun cards that you can find, I think, lying around that you're more comfortable with or know how to synergize with that people don't see.
yep,
And like I'm not saying go to an event and come with like a 50 stack of 50 cards that's gonna like surprise everybody, but definitely having a stack of 50 cards that you know how to play and you know your sideboard and that you're gonna have fun with. It's a lot
yep,
more important than
for
going to an
sure.
event with like, oh, this deck just got first at 3 PQs in a weekend. And then you go and you're like 0-6 and scrub out and you're like, how the hell did that happen? That wasn't fun at all.
Yep. Well, and
So
that was something I was talking to another guy, one of the local guys here, where he made the comment where he doesn't love to net deck from certain content creators, and he was like, not because their decks are bad, but he was like, I'm just not as good of a player as they are. So I don't want to steal their decks because it reminds me how much better they are. And I always thought that was kind of funny because it's like you can pick the winning deck. And if you don't know how to play it, if you're not comfortable with it, if you haven't put the work into it, you're not going to get very far. At least that's been my experience. So it's get the reps in, make sure you're having fun because that's the biggest, absolutely the biggest thing.
yeah, and like I'll even point out this comes down to how people think and fun is Wu or Ophir from Galactics. He played Quinlan when no one thought Quinlan was going to be a very solid deck because it was like, how do you get around Han 2 playing Grogu, the new Grogu, the 1/6 turn one,
Yeah.
and he figured it out and he did really well with the deck. And congrats to him.
Yeah.
It's just like exactly like playing a card that he knew was comfortable with, or he figured it out, or he had that comfort level with the deck that he was like, I just know what to do, so I'm gonna take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of crazy. It's fun. But yeah.
No, I do think that is also another point I think I should bring up with this video since we're talking about deck lists. I think one of the most interesting aspects of this game is actually deck building because we have such a varied card pool, and
Yep.
the game was not necessarily designed around limited, but has that limited focus in mind. That sometimes there are just cards that you can overlook that are super solid and you don't think about, and then you play it once or twice and you're like, holy crap, why have I never put this card in a deck?
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
having that feeling, I will say this, the feeling of euphoria of putting something someone considers not great or not the best or just bad on the table and winning with it is like the best thing in this game ever.
Yep.
So
Yeah. It's like, huh, I actually made that work. It's a good one.
yes, yes. My current one I'm trying is Mythosaur. Can't figure it out. Not a good card, but
You'll
I'm gonna
get there.
figure it
You'll
out.
get
So
there.
when crate rotates, maybe I can play Mythosaur. So
Ah, not Crate. Crate should stay around forever.
yeah, yeah. As we like to quote the Lisan Al Gaib every time someone plays
Yeah,
crate. Yeah,
yeah.
so.
That's what it is.
I think another card that not a lot of people are super high on, but has actually found its way back in the deck list, just since we're kind of wrapping up here.
Yeah.
The 7 cost Mace Windu is like a
Dude,
card here in Omaha that like everybody playing Red Heroism is now playing. Like
I
nobody played the card for 3 sets, and now it's like everyone's playing
that
Mace
is
Windu.
one card that people kept telling me to take out. And my husband specifically was one of them where he was like, it's just not that good. It's just not. And I loved it. Every time I played it, I was like, but it feels so good. And with 7 health, like, it's gonna survive. I'm gonna get some hits out of it. And that was one hill I wish I would have died on and not caved because I've loved it from the beginning. And so to see people playing it, I'm like, yes, I feel validated. I was right.
No, absolutely, yeah. I watched one of our guys who just went to the finals, John Riddell.
Yeah.
He the PQ, he was playing 7 drop Mace Windu, and I was like, man, like I just don't think the card's like super strong. Like I've had it, it's been super strong against me. I'll be the first one to admit I've got my butt kicked by it a few times, but it's just like he played the card and damn near cleared someone's board with it playing Han Green, and I was like, sure, yeah,
Surprise.
absolutely.
Yep.
Surprise, like he just cleared a board with Mace Windu. They got nothing. The guy got nothing else for it. I was like, that's crazy. That's such good value. I was like, okay,
Such good value. Oh, yeah.
yeah, it was the funniest and most heartbreaking thing I've seen from an opponent's perspective.
Like witnessing it going, oh, I know what that feels like.
Yeah, the guy like plays one card and claims, and then John like slams it down, kills like a 2/2, transfers some damage to the Grogu, kills another thing, puts 2 into the leader and kills it with the mace. And I was like, oh my god, what just happened? I was like,
So
that
good.
was gross. That was gross.
So good. I love it.
I mean, I'll wrap up my portion here.
Yeah.
I'll let Laura take this out. But net decking's okay. It's not a bad thing if you're a newer player to go to an event with a stack of known 50 good cards and a sideboard of 10. I would just
Absolutely.
caution you to know your sideboard. Know your matchups is like one of the most important things. Don't just hop on a deck the day before an event and be like, well, it just got first, so it's got to be good. And like some players can do that. So obviously don't let me dissuade you that way. But I would say know a deck, knowing your 50 stack of cards, knowing your sideboard, knowing your matchups is going to take you a lot further. You're going to have a lot more fun with the game and the longevity of it than you would just grabbing a 50 stack of cards off the internet and going like 3-3 or 2-4 on an event and wondering what the hell happened.
Yeah. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I would definitely say it's know the deck, make sure it's something you're having fun with. Don't be afraid to snatch some things off the internet. Don't be afraid to make changes. Have fun with it. That's like the biggest, like, if you need to change one card, listen to that, change the one card. Don't be afraid to make changes. But so much of being a beginner is going, okay, other people have been doing this for much longer than I have. What can I learn? What can I glean? Taking that and then making it your own. My husband, there was actually one deck that he built and he titled it, it's not net decking if you change one card. So if you're feeling guilty, which you shouldn't, don't feel guilty. Change one card and it's not net decked anymore. That's all it takes to build a deck of your own. Get out there, be adventurous. And like always, Mike and I are beginners too, so we're kind of learning alongside you guys. So if you have any feelings about net decking, if you have any experiences of your own, be sure to drop us a comment. Let us know what you think, because we love learning too, and we're just excited that we get to share our knowledge with you and hope that some other people get to learn with us.
Absolutely. And like one other thing, if you have any videos you guys want to see, as always, just comment below what you guys would like to see us talk about because coming up with topics is very fun. It's also it can be very hard sometimes. So
Yes.
please, 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 if there's something that you're struggling with as a new player or something you just want to hear our thoughts on, comment below and we'll definitely get around to it.
Yeah, we would love any and all ideas. We'll take them.
Thank you
Perfect.
guys so much for your time. I've got nothing else. Anything from you,
Neither do
Laura?
I. Until next time.
Have a good night, Case.
Bye.